Okay, so picking up where we left off, micronutrients are pillars of nutrition. They're imperative for subtle cell and body processes. So let's talk a little bit. Vitamins in general regulate body processes such as energy production, blood clotting, and calcium balance. And they're also essential to the health of organs and tissues. Minerals, there's 16 essential minerals in your body, and they play both a structural and regulatory role as well. I'm going to break down these vitamins and minerals, and we're going to learn about all of them. But I want to focus here on this slide on water, because water is, again, the simplest and most essential nutrient. It helps with regulating body's temperature. It helps with the transportation of nutrition and waste through the body, and provides hydration, which is imperative for our everyday functions. Hydration allows your cells to work as to their optimal level. It also helps to bring clarity of your mind, and it can help to sort of have better focus. Hydration also is important for caloric regulation or appetite regulation. The more hydrated we are, the more we're actually going to eat at regular intervals when our body needs nutrients. The thirst and hunger mechanism in your brain is in the same mechanism. So sometimes when you feel hungry, it's actually because you are thirsty. So we usually recommend drinking some water first if it's been a while since you drank water, in order to improve your hydration and see if that helps to curb your appetite a little bit till your next meal. Typically, you should eat every 3 to 4 hours. That's a general idea of when you would be getting hungry or a need for food if you're eating the right amount of calories at each meal. And we'll talk about that later. So there are also functional foods, and these provides nutritional benefits beyond basic caloric value. They often protect us against disease. And so we're going to be taking a look at several of those foods that offer these, they're considered functional foods because, again, they're not just providing us the energy, but they're providing us with nutritional benefit that protects against disease. And that's going to be foods that are rich in vitamins and minerals as well. Phytochemicals are also largely found in our plant-based products. These are going to be our fruits and vegetables, and they are they're naturally occurring plant chemicals. They're not essential for the body. They're not needed for the body, but we have found that they are really helpful in promoting health. Some of these things that you might know of are things like antioxidants. Antioxidants are a phytochemical that you find in many foods that helps to reduce our risk for things like cancers, because it removes free radicals from our body. So those are really important for our bodies as well, but they're not needed in essence, but it has been utilized in our bodies to be beneficial. Nutrient density is referring to the amount of nutrients per kilocalorie. So one of the things that we again always say is we want nutrient dense foods, which means that the amount of nutrients per kilocalorie is significant, rather than just providing maybe a macronutrient or just an energy source, not really anything that has any value outside of that. Vitamins are broken down into both fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins. We're going to start with fat-soluble. These are transported and stored with the assistance of fat molecules. So you need fat in order to transfer these vitamins. So fat is important in your body. Your body can build a vitamin supply because it can store it in fat molecules. So these vitamins you do have to be careful of, because you could be at risk of toxicity if you don't, if you take too much of it. At the same time, this is also really important for countries that lack good food availability. We could give them what we would call sort of a vaccine or a shot of these vitamins, and that can last them for several months up to a year because it's being stored in their fat. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. These vitamins are vitamins A, D, E, and K, and we're going to take a look at each of those vitamins now. So vitamin A is important for vision. It's important for protein synthesis within the body and your cell differentiation processes. So vitamin A is important for your cells to become their functioning cells. So as your stem cells in your liver become liver cells, vitamin A is helpful in that cell differentiation process. It helps to regulate that. It's in the cell differentiation process that we have an increased risk of cancer, So this is an important area to make sure we have. It also helps to maintain the smooth and protective integrity of epithelial cells, and these line all of your body surfaces inside and out. So of course we do not want to lack vitamin A. I think it's also such beautiful design that this vitamin is a fat-soluble vitamin that can be stored. So it's a protective measure in us because it is so important for all parts of our body surfaces. Deficiencies in this particular vitamin can lead to a rigid protein being produced called keratin. This is normal for our hair and nails, but we don't want this happening to our mouth, our bladder, or our eyelids, so we really want to make sure we have enough vitamin A. The liver can store this up for about 2 years without replenishment. The precursor to it is beta carotene, and this is an antioxidant by itself, which again protects free radicals that can lead to cancer. So the precursor before it's made, usually there's a precursor that we eat, and then it's turned into vitamin A in our body. That precursor also is an antioxidant, so it's important for several different things. Where do we get these sources? We get it from our orange fruits and vegetables, so carrots. We also get it from our dark green vegetables. And we also have preformed versions found in animal-based products. So if you eat liver, you're going to find if you eat liver stores a lot of our vitamins, and so you're going to get lots of nutrient density from eating liver, although I can't stomach it, but some of you might be able to. Fish oil will have it as well, milk, and eggs. And the preformed versions would mean that you likely would be having some of that beta carotene that can then be produced into vitamin A as it's needed. And it's just a kind of a fun fact, if you cut open like a carrot, which is an orange vegetable, and you look at the inside of the carrot, it kind of looks like the inside of an eye. And again, that kind of reminds you that it's good for vision in that sense. A precursor, again, of a vitamin is a component that when combined with other components and processed in the body will actually produce a full vitamin. So we often acquire the precursor with foods, and then it's stored in the body for use when needed and mixed to create the vitamin A. Okay. We fortify many of our dairy products with vitamin A as well in order to help eliminate the deficiencies in our country. Vitamin D is our next fat-soluble vitamin. The body doesn't need to consume it, doesn't need to consume and outside elements to make it, any outside elements. The liver actually makes the precursor for the vitamin D, so we don't actually have to eat anything to get vitamin D. The precursor travels to the skin, and the sunlight is the second precursor, so it actually is the sunlight that activates it into vitamin D. And so we do recommend at least 10 minutes of sun exposure a day at some portion of your skin. It doesn't have to be your whole body, just at some part of your skin. And this needs to be without sunscreen, because sunscreen can actually block the ability of the sun to penetrate the skin in a way that produces it. But 10 minutes is a safe way in which you can do that. It works, again, it can be derived from like liver and eggs if sunlight is not available, but it's going to be to a lesser extent. It works like a hormone regulating organ function. So it's a hormone that regulates functions of intestine, kidneys, bones, and brain. That's why I said vitamin D can also affect mood in many ways. It's also involved in immune function and calcium functioning. So it's important. Deficiencies inhibit the ability of bones to calcify normally, so we could see rickets in children and adolescents, or even women who have maybe multiple births, because the body will, the child will take those vitamins. It gets the precedent over the mother, so it could lead to a deficiency in many women. Increased risk of also osteoporosis in older adults. Other risk populations would be darker skin pigmentation, use of sunscreen, pregnant and breastfeeding mothers, and also infants. Infants struggle to get enough vitamin D. We actually recommend now that infants get a vitamin D supplement, especially if they're being breastfed, because infant formula is fortified with it. But breastfeeding mothers don't have enough vitamin D to pass through the breast milk into the infant. So we do recommend that for those individuals. But pregnant and breastfeeding mothers can also be at risk of vitamin D deficiency, again, because of the demand on the body to provide the nutrients to the child first and foremost. Some of the ways that we've helped to reduce deficiencies, again, is by fortification through bread and milk. And of course, there's areas of even our country. Alaska has this problem at parts of the year, but a lot of our northern countries that or northern part of our country that experiences winter and has periods of time where sunlight is limited would be at highest risk of vitamin D deficiency as well. Vitamin E protects against the oxidation of unhealthy lipids and pollutants. So it will actually keep your body from utilizing those things in the body. It prevents and reduces the severity of chronic degenerative diseases such as heart disease, respiratory infections, and Alzheimer's. So vitamin E is definitely important for our health in the way in which it protects against the breakdown of our body from oxidizing these unhealthy exposures that we have. It's stored in fat tissue. Every tissue throughout the body has some sort of reserve of vitamin E and therefore has an antioxidant protection. Again, just I think a beautiful design of our body to store something that is so vital to the protection against degenerative type diseases or cancers. Deficiencies would result in fat malabsorption disorders. So we would have things that would lead to possibly fatty liver, fatty gallbladders, pancreas as well. And so those deficiencies can be there. It also can lead to erythrocyte hemolysis, which is just a bleeding condition specific to red blood cells. So I can't get those words out today. And they arise when diets are really low in healthy fats because, again, we store this in our fat tissue. So we want to make sure that we have healthy fats in our body. How do we consume this? We get it from dairy products. Fats. This is not supposed to say eats. This is supposed to say fats. Dairy products, nuts, seeds, and vegetable oils. It is easily destroyed by heat. Sorry, not health processing. Heat. There's a couple typos here. Easily destroyed by heat processing. So we have to be careful that we aren't cooking these things down too much. We want to eat them as maybe more raw or natural in form. And it can also be stored. We want to make sure that we're storing things properly and not in excessive amounts of heat. And it can be stored again in our fat tissue. Okay, so vitamin K is an essential role in blood clotting as well as a major role in bone formation. It is formed from a combination of animal and plant-based chemical compounds, and it's actually synthesized by your intestinal bacteria. So we want to make sure we have good gut health to be able to synthesize and create vitamin K from these chemical compounds. So, you know, having your a healthy gut in terms of the bacteria there and eating your probiotics would be good. Deficiencies are often then caused by antibiotics because antibiotics destroy intestinal bacteria, so probiotics are always good to take when you're on an antibiotic. And if you're not someone who eats, you know, yogurts or things like that, you may want to consider that as a supplement. And of course, before you do any supplements, you always speak with your provider before then. It's derived from non-food sources or produced by the body, although it's not as efficient as with food sources. It's stored in the liver, but metabolized quickly and eliminated if not needed. So we're not going to be storing this for long periods of time. Sources are going to be cabbage, Brussels sprouts, spinach, and broccoli. So those are your fat-soluble vitamins, and those are, again, have essential components, and they have a greater risk of toxicity because their ability to be stored. So we do have to make sure that we're not taking too many supplements unless it's needed for that. Our primary goal with these vitamins is always try to get it with your food first and supplement second. We don't want to rely on the supplement as the source of our food or of our vitamins because the supplement is more of a synthetic form. It's not going to be as processed or utilized as our body as those that are consumed with food. Water soluble are easily absorbed in the bloodstream, quickly eliminated, and so toxicity is very unlikely. We're going to look at two types of vitamins here. We're going to look at the C vitamins and vitamin C, and then we're going to look at the B family, and we'll pick up